Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first EDscursion live from the field of 2022. I am Sarah Falkowski. I'll be your host today. I'm the education coordinator here at Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve in Naples, Florida. So you will be meeting the team today. So members of the education and research teams will be popping up throughout the program, and you'll be meeting lots of experts soon. But first, a little bit about the National Estuarine Research Reserve System. So this network protects 29 ecologically sensitive areas in 23 states and Puerto Rico. At least 3 other states could join the national system with their own reserves soon. And they're all designed to protect and study estuarine systems through research, stewardship, and education. So I'm located right here in Southwest Florida along the Gulf of Mexico. And I am part of Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And throughout Florida, DEP protects 4 million acres through aquatic preserves, National Estuarine Research Reserve, the Coral Reef Conservation Program, and marine sanctuaries. Here at Rookery Bay, we manage 110,000 acres, everything within this yellow boundary. I'm located right here at the Environmental Learning Center. We hope that you visited us already or will someday soon. And the team that you're about to see in the field is located here, and they are at the Briggs Boardwalk today. Field Cam, are you guys ready?
Sarah, we are.
Great. Okay, we can see and hear you. Tell us about the Briggs Boardwalk.
Fantastic. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Morgan. I'm on the education team here at Rookery Bay Research Reserve right here in Naples. And like Sarah said, we're going to have experts joining us from the research team. I've got my ed team behind me. It's a full group today. And yes, you are on our first EDscursion during the Festival of Birds all this month through January. I encourage you to check out our website, look at all the other things going on, but we're happy you joined us this morning. So we're bringing the Briggs Boardwalk to you at home right now. So we are on the boardwalk, this fantastic public access point. Yes, I said it, public access in Rookery Bay is available to you all year long to come and check out all the things you might see on some of the signage posted here at the Briggs Boardwalk. So Sarah's got a really nice view of one of our posters made by our very own Janine from the education department. We are focusing on the wildlife and the habitat transitions that you're going to see throughout the boardwalk, which we'll show you here live today. So check those out when you come to visit. Like I said before, we are here at the Briggs Boardwalk. This is a half-mile, beautifully wooded trail for you to enjoy. And we're going to be focusing on this first habitat right at the beginning of the boardwalk. And Janine, I see you're over there. You're ready to go. What are we looking at this morning right now?
Hello, I'm Janine. I'm part of our education staff here at Rookery Bay Research Reserve, and we are right in front of the scrub habitat. So one of the first habitats you'll experience as you enter the boardwalk. And behind me, you can see it's very low growth, very dense. We've got some saw palmettos on the edge. And then as you move your eyes out towards the higher elevated areas, there are things like Chapman's oak, myrtle oak, sand live oak. We've got a good bit of elevation actually in the distance, and this is the highest point on the boardwalk. So, you know, very unique, very hardy area. This is some of the oldest plant communities in Florida right here, and they're actually endangered. So coming to the boardwalk to see the scrub is just an absolute thrill. And the species you might encounter can vary depending on the time of the year. So this is where we're sending our first question to Cole. She's going to introduce herself. And Cole, what we want to know is, with this specific vegetation type, you know, low growth, sandy soil, you know, very hardy plants, are there any specific birds that might find this suitable either this time of year or maybe another time that people are visiting the boardwalk?
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Cole Luzaw. I am the avian specialist at Rookery Bay. And that scrub habitat is a really great habitat for a lot of different birds year round. So this time of year, you might find things like loggerhead shrikes or blue jays. that are hanging in that area trying to forage for different food sources there. But one of the birds that does use this area, especially in the summer, that I kind of wanted to share with you guys is the common nighthawk. Well, the common nighthawk, it breeds in a lot of different areas and it migrates through here. So it's coming through in the fall and in the spring, but a few individuals will stay here and nest in the summer. And they have been nesting along Briggs Boardwalk for years. And so if you come in the summer, a lot of times you'll see these adult birds flying around, especially at dawn and dusk. And the reason they're using this scrub habitat is that they actually nest directly on the ground in the sand. And they're using that scrub for protection for their chicks. So if you look in this picture, you can look real close right in the center of this picture here. Those are actually common nighthawk chicks that are kind of hiding in the sand underneath this scrub material. So this is a really unique habitat that can protect these common nighthawks from predators that might be hanging out nearby.
All right. Woo, speaking of predators, Cole, that is amazing. Just to hear about how a bird will utilize this low-growing woody scrub, despite all of the challenges. Just looking at it, it looks kind of rough down there, but that's so amazing. But you said predators, and I want to look to the habitat directly behind us now. So we were looking at the scrub, which lies in front of me. Behind us, we start to transition from that low-growing woody scrub habitat now to our pine flatwood habitat. So we're going to pan this over. Check that out. A lot of tall growing slash pines. And as a result, some of these slash pines, when they die, create what we call snags. So large, tall perches for different predatory birds that we might see out here. Because in this low growing scrub, you wouldn't know if a nighthawk was there unless you heard it. But same thing goes for some of these tall slash pines. What are some of the birds, Cole, that we might hear out in our pine flatwood rather than see? What could we encounter out here?
Yeah, there's a lot of birds that will use this pine flatwood. So again, you might actually hear the blue jays and the nighthawks, but you're probably not going to hear them if there is a predator nearby. So if you come out there to Briggs Boardwalk and you get out there and it's really quiet, make sure to look at the snags because there are a lot of birds that will use those as predator perches, including the red-shouldered hawk. So we've got things like red-shouldered hawks, bald eagles will use those snags. Sometimes you can even see swallowtail kites flying around that will use those areas. And they're perching on those snags and looking out to see if there's anything moving. They might eat things like small mammals. They could also eat the birds. So the small birds will be really quiet. But if you're out on the Briggs Boardwalk and you start hearing a bunch of bird noise, you probably don't have a predator in the area. You might actually have something like a pileated woodpecker. So the pileated woodpeckers were there the last time I was at the Briggs Boardwalk, right at eye level. And these guys use this snag dead wood areas. They're drilling into that for insects, but they're also creating nesting holes. So they will nest right in those big snags, and these guys are loud. So sometimes you'll go to the Briggs Boardwalk and you will just hear very, very loud calling. Make sure to look on the dead wood at eye level, maybe a little higher. They might be foraging in that area. And these guys will be there year round. A lot of other woodpeckers use the area too. Some of them are quite loud, some are a little bit more quiet. So this is a yellow-bellied sapsucker. And the sapsuckers actually drill holes across living trees, and they're trying to get the sap and insects out of the holes like that. So you can see the holes on this guy right here. Your red-bellied woodpecker is just like your pileated woodpecker. And they're out there every single time I go out to Briggs Boardwalk. I get to see these red-bellied woodpeckers. Now this picture up top here, this is a red cockaded woodpecker. We don't really have them at the Briggs Boardwalk, but I wanted to show you kind of what a hole can look like in a tree when it's a little bit more hidden than that nesting pileated woodpecker. So they'll actually sometimes put just small holes in right under a branch. And these snag habitats are incredibly important to all sorts of birds like these woodpeckers and like the predatory raptors.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Cole. I love all your photos because, yeah, we heard some woodpeckers this morning, but we actually didn't get to see them. So hopefully everybody, can start looking at those differences and maybe, listening for them when they come visit that part of our boardwalk. We have transitioned, though. We are at this amazing marsh habitat. So you can see behind me, there's water here. That means that we have transitioned in elevation as well. We're at kind of a low point, not the lowest, but here we have a different array of plants and actually a different array of food. So this water is really important for a variety of insects, different stages for our common flies, our dragonflies. They need this marsh for their life cycle changes. So insects are a really important food source in the greater food web. And I know for birds, we've got some pretty specialized insectivores. And Cole, I was wondering if there is a particular bird that, maybe is really going to be coming around because of this marsh habitat and the insects that it supports.
Yeah, definitely. So those insects are a huge part of birds' diets year-round, especially when they're migrating or when they're feeding their young. They need those high-protein insects. And one bird that we're actually trying to attract to the Briggs Boardwalk right now is the purple martin. The purple martin is a really, really cool bird. We've put up these gourd houses for them. So if you come to the boardwalk, as you're walking, you'll notice that there is a large bunch of gourds hanging there. They look kind of like this. Well, exactly like this. And the purple martins nest inside here. Purple martins have become so dependent on people that they actually don't nest in the wild anymore. They only nest in artificial habitat like these gourds. But they're very dependent on dragonflies and mosquitoes and other insects. So Briggs Boardwalk is the perfect place to host a purple martin colony because these dragonflies and these insects are coming right out of that marsh. So as you get close to the marsh, you'll see the purple martin house there. And I really encourage you to come out to the Briggs Boardwalk. One of the things about purple martins that is especially interesting and special is that they really actually love human presence. So when you put up a gourd houses like this, they won't come to them unless people are using that area. So if we don't have people on the boardwalk, we won't have purple martins. So that's another reason you should come out, come see the marsh habitat, and really try and understand how great those bugs are.
Cool. We are cracking up out here because, you mentioned mosquitoes, and I just don't know how much anybody loves mosquitoes. But moving on, we're a little closer to the vegetation and in the marsh, and we've got some beautiful sawgrass that I am not feeling top to bottom. I'm feeling bottom to top because it does have these serrated edges. And we also have some needle rush, black needle rush. So these are dominant plants that actually tend to kind of move and do this dance, if you will, depending on the salinity and how fresh or how salty the actual marsh might get. So it does fluctuate. And I think that there's probably some birds that might really like the vegetation in here. What do you think, Cole? We got some specific species that prefer this marsh vegetation?
Yes, definitely. That vegetation is the prime vegetation for birds like our red-winged blackbird. So a red-winged blackbird down here in this corner, they are blackbirds. They nest in this kind of marsh vegetation up north. They don't nest around here, but they still are targeting that habitat. They're eating the insects in that habitat. The males are black with these red epaulets, these red shoulder pads. The females are actually very brown and they look just like the reeds that you're seeing there. So those reeds actually do help camouflage the red-winged blackbirds. Another bird that specializes in marsh vegetation would be your common gallinule. So this big picture here is a common gallinule chick, and if you see the little beak sticking out, that is the parent. So they nest under these broken off reeds in areas that you wouldn't even see if you didn't see the birds entering and exiting. And their chicks are able to run out and stand on top of these floating vegetation mats that will be in the marshes like that. And I also threw in an inhinga. So the reason I put this inhinga in is because the other day when I went to the Briggs Boardwalk, there was an inhinga standing on the boardwalk overlooking the marsh. And these are fish eaters. So they're not going to necessarily be looking at the plants as much as the fish, but those plants definitely make it a safe place for these birds to be foraging in. And the marshes having kind of a low water area make it easier for the inhingas to find their fish. That's a few of the birds that can use the marsh, but the marsh can be used by a ton of different birds, and the vegetation there is really the key to the marsh. I know the field cam's moving. Have you guys gotten to where you're going?
Oh, there you guys. Welcome back. Hey, everybody. Okay, so yes, we were just in transit. We are at probably my favorite part of the boardwalk. We call this the overlook. So just, wow, Ed team and everyone joining us today, look at this view. I'm just going to give us a second. Check this out. Whew. Can't beat it. Can't beat this view. What you're looking at is the brackish pond. So we're at the overlook on the Briggs Boardwalk, but we are looking at a tidally influenced brackish pond. So in our estuary here, that's a mix of salt and fresh water, just like our marsh. That salinity can change throughout the year or even just seasonally. So right now we'd expect a little bit more saltwater influence because we're not getting as much rain, right? Because this is our dry season here in Southwest Florida. But you can see there's still a lot of water from the wet season. We're coming out of the summertime. We're got through fall. Now we're in the winter. And look, this is fantastic. We can see a ton of birds, anhingas being one of them. I know for sure I've seen a ton of anhingas out here. But there's some other birds, Cole, that we could see utilizing our red and white mangroves. That's kind of the dominant factor out here. Dominant vegetation, red mangroves more in the submerged areas that we see in our brackish pond. But then, yeah, we've got the white mangroves kind of intersparse here as well. Cole, you want to?
Yeah, I had a little bit of technical difficulty for a second. That is absolutely beautiful. It looks wonderful today. That area is a real gem. It's one of the spots that you can really go and see what Rookery Bay is made out of. There's the mangroves, there's the water, And this Briggs Boardwalk, over the years that people have been reporting birds, people have seen 185 different species at the Briggs Boardwalk. So when I'm kind of talking about these birds, I am only highlighting a very few that you might see. Oh, there we go. My slides are not wanting to participate. So when you get to the Briggs overlook, one of the first things you're going to notice is there's almost always some herons or egrets or other wading birds there. That is a tidally influenced marsh, so there are fish in there. And the water level changes, but it's always pretty shallow near those mangrove islands. So these birds will be either standing up on the mangroves, kind of overlooking everything, or they'll be walking around and foraging along the edges of that area. So I definitely recommend bringing binoculars. You'll probably notice these large white birds that are like the great egrets, but some of the other birds are a little bit more subtle. So you can see things like green herons there. They're very small and kind of dark, but you can definitely see them if you bring your binoculars. And then there's brilliant birds like the spoonbills. So the spoonbills are pink. They're in there pretty regularly, especially at dusk and dawn. So when you first wake up in the morning, if you head out to the Briggs Boardwalk, you may get some treats. You've also got the great blue heron. I always like to point out the great blue heron because I know a lot of people who come down here in the winter are from up north. And you get to see your great blue herons up there, but we've got them down here too. You just have to get into the right habitat. And kind of the last ones I want to tell you about a little bit are the seabirds. So sometimes seabirds can be a little bit harder to see from mainland. You kind of have to get out onto boats or get on onto the beaches. But this area will sometimes get white pelicans that will forage in the pond, as well as your black skimmers that will skim right at dusk trying to catch small fish for themselves, for their mates, and for their chicks. So there's a ton of different birds. I highly recommend going out and checking it out, and definitely bring your binoculars if you have them. And if you don't have them, you'll still see plenty of cool birds.
Wow, Cole, that is amazing. So now
Amazing.
we have made it to our last spot here, and this is where we're going to kind of open it up for questions. So we are joined here by Janine again. She's back. And then we are also joined by our Norris Gaynor Education Fellow, Taylor. She's been doing all the camera work behind the scenes for us. So we are here. We're available for your questions. So everyone in the audience, hit us with what you got.
Sarah, take it away.
Okay, we have a few questions coming in. So I'm going to ask my favorite one first. And this one comes from Dita. It is, why do purple martins rely on humans or like to be around humans? She said she's been to the Briggs Boardwalk before and she saw a blue crab in the marsh. Does that make sense? Did she misidentify it?
So I'm going to kind of split those two into a purple martin question and a crab question. The purple martins are dependent on people partially because the predators that can come and eat their eggs and chicks won't come near people. So you'll get less things like less snakes and raccoons coming and visiting their nest when there are people coming around. And they're just super tuned into that at this point. So even if it was an area that doesn't have any of that, they're used to looking for human presence. And then I'll lob the blue crab over to the field cam.
All right. Thanks, Cole. All right. So yeah, the blue crab, Dita, thanks for that question. We also have seen blue crabs in that marsh area, oddly enough. But blue crabs, they're one of those cool species. We see them in the estuary, but they can handle that brackish mix, right? So they'll use this as a foraging ground and even to reproduce. But yeah, not that uncommon especially we saw them in the summer usually.
Yep. Yeah.
So
So definitely you could see the blue crab here. Some other crabs you might encounter are the mangrove tree crab. So small little, brownish to red colors, and they're crawling up these wonderful mangroves that we have out here. So that's a fun one to see.
definitely.
Okay, I know a lot of people are wondering this question. How do you get to the Briggs Boardwalk? Where is it?
Oh, well, we can answer that. We made it here. It's not that hard. So if you were to head south on Collier Boulevard, heading towards Marco Island, and you wanted to come down Shell Island Road, it's a small little sign, but it'll be on your right-hand side. You make it just about what, a mile, you guys think? A mile? Just about.
Yeah, to this location.
To this location, to the Briggs Boardwalk. You will pull into the FWC, Florida Fish and Wildlife Law Enforcement Building parking lot. What? The parking lot of the law enforcement building? I know, it seems wacky, but on the right-hand side of the building, it will lead you down this nice vegetated pathway to the Briggs Boardwalk itself. Good signage, and you can enjoy this for yourself, and we encourage you.
Cool. Yes, and the boardwalk is open from sunrise to sunset. So even though the Environmental Learning Center is open Monday through Saturday from 9 to 4, after we close, you can head down to that boardwalk. Okay, Mary wants to know, and I'm afraid of the answer, have you seen any pythons?
Not on the boardwalk, we haven't, but if you run into an officer or maybe one of our networking agencies, the Conservancy of Southwest Florida, you might find them along the road tracking a python. Stop and ask a question. So there's lots of great people out here doing work in the reserve, our staff and volunteers, and then other agencies that help to support the greater research. So we haven't encountered any on the physical boardwalk, but I'm sure other people who are around the area might have more to add to that.
Cool. That is the answer I was looking for. This question is for Cole, I believe. Someone asks if there are other seabirds that utilize the freshwater area that you guys were broadcasting from.
Yeah, so the other seabirds that would utilize that are, again, they're going to be fishing. So you'll get your terns in there. In the summer, you'll have your least terns, which are another protected species like the black skimmers are. In the winters, you might see more of your royal terns and your sandwich terns. The common terns and forester's terns may very well be in there as well. They actually are a little bit more marsh dependent up north than they are down here. But they would definitely come and take a look at that area. So those are probably going to be your main seabirds. You'll definitely see some pelicans from time to time, of both the white pelican variety and the brown pelicans. They'll come in and do some foraging there. A lot of these birds are looking for flat, calm water. It helps them be able to see what they're looking at. And all that mangrove habitat around there keeps the wind from rippling it, and it makes it very easy for them to see the forage fish.
Okay, this question goes to the Ed team because I happen to know that they are part of the Rookery Bay Burn team. So we have a question about fire. Is this area ever treated with prescribed fire, and how does it affect the area, good or bad?
Well, absolutely, yeah. So the whole Ed team, yes, we are on our burn team here at the reserve, which is so cool that we get to help out our resource management team putting fire on the ground in, good doses when it's supposed to be done. Woo, thank you. I'm getting choked up. I love fire. Starting things on fire. It's great. So anyways, so as a part of the burn team, we do get to be involved in some of the forethought that goes into the prescribed burning. So our burn boss has to go through the areas or the units that have been burned throughout the reserve, and they go on a cyclical basis. So what's the timeline for a burn? If something was burned, like let's say this year, when was the next time it'll be burned, Janine?
It'll be a few years, 5, 6. So maybe if you've been at our learning center, you've been there when we have had a burn recently done. And, we have to wait a few more years for for that unit, but it depends on the vegetation type too. So you saw we were earlier in some pines, we were in some scrub habitat. Those will have different fuel loads, and fire will act differently on those landscapes, but they are both dependent on it. So it's a big reason that we need to prescribe the fire to those landscapes so that nutrients can be recycled. We want to make sure that plants have available areas to grow where that understory, is decreased and there's lots of sunlight, new growth for animals. And then maybe getting rid of some invasive plants, that aren't adapted to fire. So the Briggs Boardwalk area has seen it before, and we'll see it again. And that is an amazing time to get out here, pre or post burn, to look at how everything is changing and responding to that particular management.
And rumor has it, it's coming soon. So get out here to the boardwalk before the burn, and no doubt this burn season, if conditions look right, the Briggs Boardwalk area will see some action. So yeah, that's a great question. So I would say prescribed burn, all in all, good
Very
results,
important.
very important for this landscape and the plants and animals that use it. So good question.
Yeah, and if you're a birder, man, right after a prescribed burn, good time to go birding. First of all, you can see everything. Second of all, the amount of insects that are in that area for them to forage on is huge. They go nuts.
All the more reason to come out to Briggs Boardwalk if
That's
you needed
cool.
more.
So I know we talked a little bit about the pythons, but are there other reptiles that someone might see along the boardwalk? Big, small, scary, friendly?
Well,
Yes.
One of our favorites is the green anole. We love seeing our native lizard. So we do see that commonly, actually right on the boardwalk itself, if not on some limbs, but they blend in pretty well. So you really got to keep your eyes open. And what about some native snakes that you would see out here, you might encounter?
You could come across maybe a black racer, nothing to get worried about. Those are smaller, they're black. We can see rat snakes, yellow and red. I've seen them both actually just right out here on Shell Island Road. But if snakes aren't your thing, we see, I think it's the 5-line skink.
Yes.
Yes.
5-line skink.
Once ever I've seen it out here. So, but they're fast, right? It was right on the boardwalk. And as soon as I saw it, that's as quick as it was gone. So definitely keep an eye out for those. And then also just
What about at the very front when you enter? Who might you see crawling around out of its burrow?
Oh,
Your favorite.
oh my gosh, gopher tortoises. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're thinking about the boardwalk itself. If you look right over the railing, yes, gopher tortoises. And last time we were out here, we discovered a teeny tiny fresh burrow.
Yeah.
Right around the corner. So as soon as we're finished up with you all today, we're going to go check it out because we haven't checked on it in a couple weeks. But yes, gopher tortoises, they are a keystone species out here, especially in that endangered scrub habitat. Their burrows, their refuge during those prescribed fires for hundreds of species, snakes and small mammals alike. So yeah, we cannot see enough cool things out here. So that's why we want you to come see for yourself. It's really fun.
Cool. This question is probably for you about black skimmers. I know that you might have already answered it in the Q&A box, but for our video viewers, do you want to just talk about what to do if you see a black skimmer or other bird that has a band? Should you report that?
Yeah, definitely. So anytime you see a bird with a band on it that you can read the code on, that can be reported to reportband.gov. Report band, yeah. And they're going to ask you what color the band was, what the code was. They may ask what leg it's on. Whatever information you have, go ahead and try and report it there. If you're interested in learning more about banded birds, you can follow Florida Banded Birds on Facebook. There's tons of people talking about where birds were banded, what that area they've seen them in, where they're coming from. Highly recommend following that Facebook page if you're interested. The other thing I'm going to shamelessly plug, because it is Festival of Birds, We will be doing a live banding presentation for an EDscursion coming up. Sarah, do you know the exact date of that? I'm blanking.
Yes, I was actually going to talk about all of the Festival of Birds events. So good segue. Let me put my slide up so everyone can see what we're talking about, and then I will tell you the date. Oops, I have to advance it. I'm sorry. So here at Rookery Bay, we celebrate the entire month of January for the Festival of Birds. So it started January 1st, and we are not even halfway through. So there's so much going on. And this is one of the activities. And Cole actually will be giving a lecture coming up. The date of the bird banding station excursion is next Wednesday, the 19th at 11 a.m. And so we hope that you'll join us for that too. When you get your confirmation, your thank you for attending email today with the link to this recording, it will also have the upcoming dates for the future ones. So we hope that you'll register for those as well. A festival pass gets you, for $45, you get to have 9 featured speakers, one of which is Cole coming up soon, and a keynote presentation, and access to field trips around Lee and Collier County. We have 24 field trips. Now, if you've attended the festival in the past, this is our 18th year, by the way, you know that we are known for the field trips. Well, in the pandemic times, we've had to make lots of changes. So we have a limited number of field trips this year, but we're hoping that the people that are interested in attending in-person events and are local are able to fill up those trips. So we do have some spaces still available. Check out our website, rookerybay.org. Also, with a festival pass, you can enjoy a 15% off discount for the eco tours for the entire month. So you don't have to go on a particular day. You can make that fit your schedule. Online, we have this excursion as well as 2 more coming up. We also are going to be doing an online trivia time. And so we hope you'll join us for that on the last day of the month, January 31st. And that will actually feature our director here, Keith Lockman, as well as some other staff. And if you don't know Keith, he is the biggest birder I've ever met. He holds a record in Collier County for the most species of birds seen in 1 year. So you should come along as he helps me host trivia because it's going to be a real hoot, pun intended. And on site, we are offering free admission to the Environmental Learning Center for the entire month. So that's an $8 value every day of the month. If you are a kid, ages 6 to 12, it's only $5. And if you're under 5, it's free anyways. So come on in and see us. You'll actually get to meet Cole and the rest of the avian team with a bird banding demonstration. And that is coming up on the 22nd. Sorry, I have to reference, there's so many things happening this month. So that's from 9 to 12 on January 22nd. That's a Saturday. And this Saturday coming up, we are featuring a local children's book author. And she is going to be signing copies of her book called Jenny's First Catch, which I happen to have right here. And I have to show you because it is such a cute title. So if you want your own copy signed of Jenny's First Catch, you come on in on Saturday and she will be here from 10:30 until 1:30. So we hope that you're able to join us for our future programs, whether it's Festival of Birds events or otherwise. And unless there's any last minute questions from anyone, I think we'll go ahead and sign off and start this recording download.
All right.
Thank you guys. Have anything else?
No, it's a beautiful day. So if you're close by, you should come check out the boardwalk today and look for any of those birds that we talked about.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you for joining us, field cam, camera person, and avian biologist.
Woo! All right.
Off for today.
Morgan signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye.